The red wooden block slid toward the edge of the desk, caught the morning light, and dropped. Nico Rossi made a small alarmed sound and reached for it, but Matteo De Luca's hand moved first. His fingers closed around the block a breath before it struck the floor. The block stopped in the center of his palm, bright red against the black sleeve of his shirt. For a moment, nobody in the library moved. Elena stood inside the open doorway with a basket of folded linens balanced against her hip. She had come to change the dust cloths, not to watch the most feared man in 3 counties catch a child's toy in midair. Nico stared at Matteo's hand. Then he looked at Matteo's covered eyes. "But you said you can't see," he said. Matteo's thumb pressed once against the block. His face remained composed, but Elena heard the slight change in his breathing. It was the same change she had heard whenever a car stopped too long outside the gates, or a guard used the wrong code at the service entrance. "I said I couldn't see the way you see," he answered. Nico frowned. "You saw the red. I felt where it would land." "No." The boy pointed at the block. "You looked at it." The word look struck the room harder than the falling toy. Elena set the linen basket down. Matteo turned his head toward her, not toward the sound of the basket, and she knew Nico was right. He had tracked the block. She had seen the movement in his face before his hand closed. Before either of them could explain it, the library door opened behind her. 5 years of blindness. That was what every person in the De Luca house knew. 5 years since an attack on one of Matteo's convoys had taken his sight and left 3 men dead. 5 years of black glasses, a cane when strangers were present, and a voice so certain that no one dared ask whether darkness frightened him. Nico walked around the desk. "Can you see me?" "Not clearly." "Can you see Mama?" Elena's pulse jumped. Matteo's face turned toward her again. His answer came too quickly. "I can see that she is there." The child accepted the explanation for approximately 1 second. Then he reached for another block. Luca Ferretti, Matteo's security chief, crossed the threshold with 2 guards at his back. Luca's gaze went from the red block to the boss, and the color drained from his face. "How long have you been able to see me standing here, and why was I the last person to know?" Elena said. Matteo's mouth tightened. Luca reached them before he could answer. "Sir," Luca said quietly, "we need to move the boy and his mother now." Nico hugged the block to his chest. Elena took 1 step toward him. "Move them where?" Matteo asked. "The East safe room. Separate interviews until we know who else witnessed." "No interviews." Luca stopped. Matteo rose from his chair without a cane or a guiding hand. He stood 6 feet 2 in a charcoal shirt, his black glasses hiding the eyes that had just followed a red block. The room seemed to contract around him. "Nico goes with Elena," he said. "No one touches them. No one questions the child. Clear the East Hall and put a driver outside the service gate. If the information leaves this room, then it leaves with my permission." The guards moved. Luca did not argue again. Matteo's authority had not weakened with his sight. It had become sharper, more dangerous because everyone in the room understood how much he had chosen to hide. Nico looked up at Elena. "Is he in trouble?" "No," she said, though she was no longer certain what trouble meant in this house. "Come with me." The boy took her hand. Before he crossed the doorway, he turned back. "The red one is your favorite, right?" Matteo's mouth tightened. "It is now." Nico smiled and left. Elena should have followed him. Her job was to keep the boy safe, finish the morning rooms, and never stand in the center of a De Luca emergency. Instead, she remained beside the linen basket and watched Matteo remove his glasses. His eyes were open. They were not empty or clouded. They were dark, focused, and painfully alive. They did not settle on her features. They moved across the doorway, the pale wall, the red stripe on the rug, and finally the shape of her body. "Tell me the truth now," she said. The question made him still. Outside, a gate motor groaned and a guard spoke into a radio. Inside the library, Elena could hear the small clock above the fireplace count 3 seconds. "I can see light," he said. "Strong color. Movement close to me. Sometimes a shape." "That wasn't my question." "About 8 weeks." She felt the answer in her chest before she understood it. 8 weeks. 8 weeks of bringing his coffee, moving his books, And reading the notes, he asked her to read aloud while he had already been able to see the motion of her hands. And you told the doctor? The doctor knows. Luca knows. Your family? No. Me? No. The word landed between them without a weapon, which made it worse. Matteo reached for the glasses but did not put them on. Elena, I did not hide this because I wanted to make you a fool. You hid it because you could. I hid it because the man who arranged the attack 5 years ago is still connected to my transport division. If he learns I can see before I have finished rebuilding the security chain, he will change his behavior. He may run. He may strike first. So I was a security risk. You were the person most likely to notice. She let out a short laugh that held no amusement. That is a beautiful way to say you trusted my eyes more than my heart. Matteo's jaw flexed. He had faced prosecutors, rival bosses, and men who believed bullets were a language. Elena had never seen him look as unprepared as he did now. I trusted your heart enough to keep it out of the line of fire, he said. You don't get to put me in the dark and call it protection. He turned toward the door where Nico had disappeared. Your son is safe. He is 7. He saw you catch a block. He is not a witness to be managed. I know. Do you? Matteo stepped away from the desk. His movements were precise, but the absence of his cane made the precision feel like a challenge to the room. He stopped a few feet from her. Tell me what you know, he said. She almost answered with the medical facts she had already guessed. Instead she said, I know that you can see enough to be afraid of losing it again. I know you have been listening for my footsteps while watching for me. I know you let me change this room because you wanted to know whether I would move you without asking. And I know that every time I left your coffee on the right side of the desk, you found it without touching the cup first. His expression shifted at the last detail. You noticed that? I notice everything you pretend is unimportant. For one dangerous second, his hand lifted as if he might reach for her. He stopped before contact. The restraint should have comforted her. Instead, it reminded her that he had been making decisions about every distance between them, while she believed his world was entirely dark. Nico will not be questioned, Matteo said. You will not be locked in the East Room. You may leave the house with him today. Are you giving me that? You can. There is a difference. He nodded once. There is. The answer did not repair anything, but it was the first honest thing he had given her since the block fell. He put his glasses back on. Stay until Nico has eaten. Then take the evening to work out where you want to go. And if I stay away, I will have a car take you wherever you name. You won't send someone after me? No. You won't use my job, my room, or my son to make me stay? No. He said it like an order to himself. That was the first thing about him that frightened Elena less. The library fell quiet again. Matteo reached for the red block and held it out, his finger stopping short of her uncertain hand. Elena took the block from his palm. What do you see now? She said. Red. Only red. And your hand. Not my face. Not yet. She closed her fingers around the block. Then don't make me the first person you see because a child caught you lying. I wasn't planning to. What were you planning? Matteo looked toward the window, where the morning sun laid a pale rectangle across the carpet. The final examination is in 10 days. I planned to find out whether the world would come back before I told anyone. Everyone. Everyone who matters to my business. She held the block between them. Do I matter to your business? His head turned toward her voice. You matter outside it. That is the problem. The words were not a declaration. They were a confession made by a man who had spent 5 years turning every feeling into a problem he could control. Elena heard Nico call from the hall. Mama, Luca says the kitchen is safe. She slipped the red block into her apron pocket. I am staying until he eats, she said. After that, we are going to talk somewhere you cannot hide behind a desk. The conservatory? You picked it. I picked it because you like the lemon trees. You can see the lemon trees? I can see their leaves when the sun hits them. She walked toward the hall. Then you can show me which ones are real. Matteo followed without a cane, leaving her space and the guards behind. For the first time since she had entered the De Luca house, Elena could feel him trying to keep up with her instead of asking the world to move her into place. Nico sat at the kitchen island with a bowl of fruit while Luca kept a careful distance. Elena cut an apple and Matteo stayed by the doorway. If you can see red, can you see green? Nico said. Sometimes. What color are my socks? Blue. They're green. Matteo considered the correction. Then I saw wrong. That happens to me in math, Nico said. The boy ate an apple slice. Does light hurt? Sometimes. Why do you want it back? I want to know what I have been missing. Nico looked at Elena. You are missing Mama's angry face. She makes it every day. Elena gave him a warning look. Matteo's mouth curved. I know her angry face without seeing, he said. I have been paying attention. The words reached Elena more deeply than he could know. She looked down at the apple so he would not hear the change in her breathing. After breakfast, Luca took Nico to the garden where the guards could watch without hovering. Elena led Matteo through the service corridor to the conservatory. He knew the route better than anyone. She had changed the location of a low bench 3 months earlier, and he had found it within a day. She had never learned how. The conservatory smelled of damp earth and lemon leaves. Sunlight pressed through the glass roof in long bands. Elena placed 3 blocks on a table. Red, yellow, and blue. Tell me what you see, she said. Matteo stood at the doorway. The red one is on your left. Yellow is near the pot. Blue is closest to the glass. She moved them without speaking. The red block went behind a ceramic planter. Yellow moved into the sun. Blue sat in shadow. Again. He studied the table. Red near the planter. Yellow in the bright patch. Blue by the glass. You are using memory. I am using everything I have. She crossed the room and placed the red block beneath a leaf. Now. He paused, face tightening. I see a small red flare under the green. Elena looked at the block. It was nearly hidden. And the yellow? I don't know. The blue? No. She returned to the table. So the red block made you look. It made a contrast. That is a careful word. Careful words keep people alive. They also keep people away. He turned his head toward the leaves. I know. Elena lifted the red block and placed it in his hand. You can see one thing when the light is right. I have been trying to understand one man when he is quiet. Neither of us has had enough information. You had enough to stay. I stayed because you were never cruel to me. Because you listened when I said Nico needed a different school bus. Because you remembered that I hate roses and stopped sending them. Because you let me be angry without making me apologize for it. Matteo's hand tightened over the block. I did not know you hated roses. You knew. You told the florist to bring lemon branches instead. That was for the scent. You can tell yourself that. He faced her. The glasses hid his eyes, but not the attention in his posture. What else did I do? You left the last cup of coffee until I came to collect it. You changed the night guard's route after you heard me mention that one of them whistled outside Nico's room. You never had me read anything about your family, unless you had already decided I could know. And you still think I did not trust you. I think you trusted the version of me that could be useful. The conservatory door stood open behind him. A breeze moved the lemon leaves. Matteo took off his glasses again, and this time Elena did not look away. I trusted the version of you that could tell me the truth, he said. I did not trust myself with what your truth would do to me. She felt the room change. The sentence was not about the attack or the transport division, or the men who might be watching the house. It was about her. What would it do? She said. His bare gaze searched the light around her. It would make me want something I could not secure. You secure everything. Not you. The red block rested between his fingers. Elena could hear Nico laughing outside, a guard answering him, the soft click of a lemon falling onto the soil. Matteo raised his hand a few inches, then lowered it. What were you going to do? She said. Wonder whether I could touch your face. She looked at him. Why? Because I know your footsteps. I know your voice. I know the way you breathe before you say something you think I will dislike. I want one memory that belongs to my eyes. It was the most vulnerable request she had ever heard from him. It was also too much for the same morning. Not yet, she said. Matteo lowered his hand, All right. He let the answer stand and pressed for no date. The acceptance traveled through her more powerfully than an argument would have. Elena put the red block back on the table. You are going to tell me what the doctor says. All of it that affects us. Us. Don't make me regret the word. His head dipped. I won't. And I am coming to the examination. I was going to invite you. You are inviting me now. Yes. Good. She turned to the open doors. The sunlight struck the red block again, and Mateo's face followed the flare before he could stop it. This time Elena saw it clearly. She did not mention it. She only walked toward the garden, where Nico was waiting to show her a crooked line of stones. Mateo followed, carrying the glasses in one hand and leaving the red block on the table as if the small piece of wood had become a witness neither of them could dismiss. The next afternoon, Mateo invited Elena to ride with him to the clinic. He did it in the kitchen while Nico was at school and the staff were changing shifts. There was no security briefing, no envelope, and no aide delivering the request. Mateo stood beside the coffee machine with his glasses on and his cane leaning against the wall, unused. Dr. Hale moved my examination forward, he said. She can see me at 4. Elena kept folding a towel. You can tell me what she says when you return. I would rather you hear it there. Because you want a witness? Because I want you beside me. She finished the fold and placed the towel on the stack. That sounds like a request. It is. And if I say no? I go alone. She studied his plain dark sweater and tailored trousers. Even dressed for an appointment, the man who commanded a convoy owned the room. I will come, she said. But I am not taking notes for you. I know. And I am not going to tell you that everything will be fine. That is why I wanted you there. The car waited beyond the service gate. Mateo took the front passenger seat, leaving Elena the rear seat until she opened the door and sat beside him. He glanced toward her, a movement so exact that she knew he had caught the change in the cushion. You can sit in back if you want, she said. I want to know where you are. You can hear me from there. I can hear you from another building. Then why sit beside me? Because I am trying to stop pretending that hearing is enough. The city passed in bands of sun and shadow. Mateo tilted his face from each bright window, fingers tapping once whenever the glare sharpened. Elena noticed the small tightening around his eyes and the breath he held until the car reached shade. Does it hurt? She said. Sometimes. You could have told me. You would have changed the curtains. I would have checked with you first. That is worse. She turned toward him. Why? Because then I would have had to admit I wanted you to notice. The clinic occupied a quiet top floor with frosted windows. Mateo crossed the lobby without a guide, knowing every turn and every dangerous reflection. Elena followed until he slowed. Stop treating me like the man who might fall, he said. Stop walking like you want to prove you won't. He gave a breath that might have been a laugh. You see too much. You should have told me sooner. Dr. Miriam Hale met them at the elevator. She was a compact woman in her 60s with silver hair and a red folder under one arm. Her gaze rested on Elena without surprise. So this is Elena, she said. Mateo's posture changed. You know her name? You say it when you are worried. Elena looked at him. Do I? Apparently. Dr. Hale led them into a consultation room with the lights turned low. She asked Elena whether she wanted to stay for the discussion. Elena looked at Mateo instead. I asked her to come, he said. She stays if she wants. The doctor began with what was certain. Treatment had awakened responses behind Mateo's eyes. He could detect brightness, contrast, and close motion, but the returning signals arrived through 5 years of sound and memory. Some days light was a blade. Some days it was only gray. The next examination may show improvement, Dr. Hale said. It may also show that you have reached a plateau. We cannot promise a normal field of vision. We can promise that your current response is real. Mateo put 2 precise questions to the doctor about schedule and risk. Elena kept her hands folded in her lap until she could not hold her own question inside. What happens if the result is worse than he hopes? She asked. Dr. Hale looked at Mateo. He continues adapting. The treatment is not a verdict on his worth. I did not ask about his worth. You asked what happens. He will need to decide who is allowed to stand close when the answer is uncertain. Mateo's mouth tightened. Doctor, you brought the person who can ask the question you avoid. I am answering it. The examination took less than an hour. Elena sat in the corner while Dr. Hale adjusted the light and recorded what Mateo could distinguish. He found a red marker on white, then missed a gray card against a gray wall. When it was over, Dr. Hale gave him a date 10 days away. That is the appointment for removing the temporary shield, she said. Afterward, he will need time to adapt. Do not turn the room into a celebration. Keep the light gentle. Let him describe what he sees before anyone describes it for him. Mateo accepted the card. Dr. Hale looked at Elena. If he asks you to leave, ask whether he means it or whether he is frightened. I am sitting right here, Mateo said. That is why I said it where you could hear. In the elevator, Elena stood beside him while the numbers descended. Mateo held the appointment card between 2 fingers. You don't have to come in 10 days, he said. You invited me yesterday. I am giving you a chance to change your mind. You keep saying that as if changing my mind is the same as leaving you. It might be. Not if you stop treating every decision as a threat. The elevator opened into the lobby. Mateo did not move until she moved first. Outside, a dark sedan waited at the curb. Elena reached for the door, but Mateo caught the handle before she did. What? She asked. I want to say something before the driver hears it. She waited. When I first noticed the light, I thought of the house. I thought of the gates and the roads and the men who might come for me. Then I heard you telling Nico that the lemon tree needed water, and I wondered whether I would recognize the shape of your mouth if I ever saw it. He spoke without decoration. That made the image more intimate than any polished confession. You could have told me that, she said. I was afraid you would look at me differently. I am looking at you differently now. His hand remained on the door handle. How? Like a man who has been lonely for a long time and believes loneliness is proof of strength. He accepted the truth without denial. They rode home in silence. This time, when the car stopped, Mateo waited for Elena to choose whether to walk beside him. She did. That evening, a scheduled power test left the conservatory washed in low amber. Elena went to check the lemon trees and found Mateo there. His jacket on a chair and the red block on a planter. You moved it, she said. I wanted to find it without you telling me. I knew the planter was 3 steps away, but I also saw a red edge when the emergency light came on. I am not sure which helped. She picked up the block and held it near the lamp. You don't have to pass a test every time you enter a room. I have been passing tests since the attack. That is not the same as living. He sat on the low bench. Elena remained standing. Tell me about before, she said. Before the attack? Before you decided that the world could have only the version of you that you approved. Mateo leaned forward, the dim light softening his hard angles. Before I was impatient, he said. I drove myself. I chose a restaurant by how the kitchen smelled. I knew when a man was lying because I could watch his hands. I thought blindness would be an inconvenience that made me more careful. Then I woke up and found that every person in the room had a face I could not reach. You were awake? I was alive. Those are different things. She sat beside him, leaving space between their shoulders. You learned every room. I learned every room because rooms do not change their voice. People do. I changed the library. You moved the chair 12 inches left. You placed the lamp where it would not hum against the window. You made the room easier to hear. You noticed. I noticed you before the light came back. The sentence stayed in the low room. He reached toward the red block, but his hand stopped beside it. Elena put the block in his palm. What do you notice now? She asked. Your sleeve is rougher than the one you wore this morning. I changed before dinner. You are tired. I have been tired all day. You are angry. At you. At me, at the doctor, at the light. At the part of you that wants an answer before you are ready to hear it. She looked at him. You are using a lot of guesses for a blind man. I have never been blind to you. The words should have pleased her. Instead, they exposed how carefully he had watched her through every other sense while keeping her from the one truth she needed. I am not your keeper, she said. I know. I am not your witness either. You do not get to put me in a chair and ask me to applaud if the world gives you back one color. I know. Then what am I? Mateo turned his uncovered face toward her. In the low amber, his eyes seemed to hold the light rather than reflect it. The person I wait for when I finish a day I cannot see, he said. The person whose footsteps make this house feel like it has a center. The person I want to tell the truth to before I tell anyone else. Elena looked down at their hands. His fingers rested around the block. He raised one hand, then stopped a breath away from her cheek. May I? He asked. The request was gentle. It was also a door she did not want to open while she was still standing on the wrong side of the secret. Not tonight, she said. He lowered his hand. All right. She covered his fingers with hers, keeping his palm on the red block. But you can tell me what you are afraid of. That I will see your face and discover I have imagined it wrong. And if you have? Then I will have to learn you again. You already know how. His thumb moved once beneath her hand. I want to learn you with everything I have. The emergency lights flickered back toward full power. Elena removed her hand first. Mateo put on his glasses. Neither of them called the moment a promise. It was only a truth placed carefully between them, too alive to be used as proof and too important to take back. The next morning, every radio on the security desk clicked before sunrise. Elena was carrying towels toward the west corridor when Luca turned and the guard straightened. Mateo's voice came through the hall speaker. Luca, report. The answer was low and fast. Paolo is at the south loading gate. He presented an old transport authorization. The new list removed his access yesterday, but the gate recognized the previous code. Elena stopped walking. Mateo was in the library. Who approved the old code? No one. It was still active in the secondary system. Close the south gate. Keep the drivers in their vehicles. Nobody chases him. Luca's eyes found Elena. The security chief crossed the corridor, but Mateo spoke again before he reached her. Do not bring Elena into the control room. She hated the way the words made her feel protected and excluded in the same instant. I am already here, she called toward the speaker. There was a pause. Then stay where you are. That was an order. It was a request made in a dangerous minute. You promised the difference mattered. Another pause, shorter this time. Stay with Luca while he moves you to a room with a second exit. You can refuse the room. You cannot stand in the corridor while a compromised gate is being secured. The distinction was not enough to make her obey without thinking, but it was enough to make her listen. Nico is at school, she said. A driver is going to bring him to your sister's apartment. You already decided? I decided he would not be near a gate I no longer trust. You decide whether you want the driver, another driver, or to collect him yourself. Luca received a message. His expression tightened. Paolo is leaving the vehicle, he said. He is carrying a folder. Mateo's voice sharpened. No contact until the police liaison arrives. Put the cameras on the south gate and freeze his access to the fleet. The guards moved. No one shouted. The absence of noise made the danger feel more real. Mateo did not need to be in the loading yard to control it. He asked for 3 facts, made 2 decisions, and turned a breach into a contained problem. Luca directed Elena toward a small sitting room near the rear stairs. She went because the corridor gave her no useful view, and because she refused to confuse courage with standing where someone could use her. The room had a window overlooking the lemon grove and a door to the garden. Luca left it open. You can close that if you want, he said. Leave it. He nodded and remained outside. 10 minutes later, Mateo entered. He had his glasses on, his hair still neat, and one hand wrapped around his phone. He looked like a man who had walked into a business appointment, not a security breach. What happened? Elena asked. Paolo tried to access the old fleet records. He thought the secondary gate still answered to him. It does not. You knew he was connected to the attack. I knew there was an internal connection. I did not have the final name. And now the name is Paolo. The legal team and the police liaison are handling the file. Luca will rebuild the access system. Did he know about your site? He suspected I still relied on the old map. That is why he chose the gate. She looked at the dark glasses. You could have used me. How? Let him think I was carrying information. Let me walk through the yard. Let him show you what he knows. Mateo's expression hardened. No. You used yourself as bait for 5 years. I used a false weakness because I understood the risk. I will not place you in it. That is convenient. You get to call it protection and keep making the decisions. He took off his glasses. The room was bright enough that he squinted. I am telling you the threat is contained. I am also telling you the reason I kept the recovery secret is gone. Paulo cannot change his behavior to hide from a fact he already acted on. Then why are you still wearing them? Because the sun hurts. She almost laughed, but the sound caught in her throat. You could say that without making me guess. I am trying. He crossed to the window. He could see the lemon leaves as dull green forms, the pale path, the white sleeve of a guard moving near the hedge, yet kept his distance from the glass. There is something else, he said. Yesterday I was angry that Luca treated you like a problem. Today I am angry that my secret put you near one. Do not mistake that anger for regret that I told you. Elena folded her arms. I don't know what to mistake it for yet. That is fair. You keep saying fair as if we are negotiating a shipping contract. Contracts are easier. I know. They end when the ink dries. Mateo turned away from the window. I cannot promise the danger will disappear. I can promise that if it changes your life, you will hear it from me before you hear it from a guard. You can promise that? I can make it a condition of every order I give. That's still your language. He considered her, then nodded. Then I will make it a condition of staying with you. The sentence made the room smaller. Staying with me? She asked. If you want me to. You are not asking me to stay in this house. No. I am asking whether you want a life that includes me after the house is no longer your workplace. She had not expected the question in the middle of a security breach. It frightened her more than Paulo's folder because it did not belong to a problem with a clear perimeter. I need to take Nico somewhere else today, she said. I know. I am going to my sister's. I know. You are not coming. I will not follow you. You are not sending someone to wait outside. The driver will take you if you choose him. He will leave when you tell him to leave. And if I stay away? Mateo's face became still in the way she had once mistaken for indifference. Then I will make sure your wages are paid through the end of the month, and I will find another person to care for the house. I will not use your job as a leash. You make it sound simple. It will not be simple for me. That is the first thing you have said today that I believe without checking. He put the glasses back on. Nico's school bus arrives in 20 minutes. I will collect him. I have a car ready. I will collect him. All right. He walked to the door then stopped. Elena. She waited. I did not ask you to stay because you are the only person who can manage my house. I know. You have a staff for that. I asked because when the room is empty, I still listen for your footsteps. He left before she could answer. By the time Elena reached the school, the morning had become hot. Nico ran to her with his backpack half open and a paper sun tucked under one arm. Luca said we were going somewhere safe, he said. We are going to Aunt Rosa's for a few nights. Did the red block cause it? No. It caused the boss to see. It showed us something he was already learning. Nico looked toward the waiting car. Is he coming? No. The boy's mouth turned down. Did he get in trouble? He has a problem to solve. Adults can solve a problem and still be sad about other things. Are you sad? Elena opened the car door. Yes. Because you like him? She stared at him. Nico shrugged. You make your angry face when you like someone and they do something stupid. Get in the car. He climbed in, pleased with himself. Elena watched the road to Rosa's apartment without looking back at the gates. Rosa's apartment above the bakery was too small for a man like Mateo, which comforted Elena. For 2 nights she slept on the sofa. Mateo did not call or send a guard. On the second evening, an unknown number sent a voice file. Elena waited until Nico was asleep before she played it. Mateo's voice came through without the polished steadiness he used with his men. I am recording this once so you do not have to answer tonight. Paulo is in custody. Luca rebuilt the gate system. And your room remains yours though you owe the house nothing. Dr. Hale confirmed the examination in 8 days. I will go whether you come or not. I would like you there. I am asking, not assigning. I thought seeing again would make me less alone. I did not understand that it would make me responsible for what I refused to see. You are not responsible for making that easier. If you never return, I will be grateful for every morning you gave the house a center. The file ended. Elena played it twice. On the third time, she stopped before the last sentence. Rosa came into the kitchen in her socks. Is that him? Yes. The dangerous one? He is dangerous. And stupid. Extremely. Rosa poured water into 2 glasses. What do you want? Elena looked at the phone. I want him to stop making me choose between believing him and protecting myself. Then tell him. He is not a man people tell things to. You did. He listened. Elena thought of Matteo in the conservatory, lowering his hand when she said not yet. She thought of the way he had accepted her leaving without sending anyone after her. Those were not enough to erase the lie. They were enough to make a return possible if she made it her decision. On the 3rd morning, she called the number in the voice file. Matteo answered on the first ring. Elena, you said you were asking. I am. Then listen before you speak. I am listening. I will come back for the examination. I will not come back as your employee. I will not be the person who keeps your rooms arranged while you decide what I am allowed to know. If you want me near you, you tell me the truth that belongs to both of us. Yes. You don't get to say yes before I finish. I am sorry. And if the result is bad, you don't get to disappear behind a closed door and call it strength. I will tell you before I close the door. That's not enough. He was quiet. Try again, she said. If the result is bad, I will let you see me in it. I will not ask you to fix it. I will not make you prove that you can stay. Her throat tightened. Better. When will you return? Tomorrow afternoon. I am bringing Nico to Rose's after school. I can arrange. No. I can arrange my own family. All right. And Matteo? Yes. Don't wear the glasses when you talk to me. He exhaled softly. Why? Because I need to know whether you are looking at me or hiding from me. I cannot promise the light will be comfortable. I didn't ask for comfort. Then I will be waiting in the conservatory. You will be there. You will not send someone to tell me where to stand. I will be there. She ended the call before her courage changed shape. The following afternoon, Elena returned to the house through the garden entrance. Matteo was in the conservatory exactly as he had promised. He wore no glasses. The light had been lowered, and the lemon trees cast a soft pattern across the floor. He turned toward her footsteps. You came, he said. I said I would. You did not have to. I know. Nico ran past them toward the garden. Elena kept her eyes on Matteo. Before we talk about the examination, tell me the part you left out. There are several parts. Choose the one that affects whether I can sleep under your roof. Matteo drew a slow breath. The attack was not random. Paolo opened a route for the men who came after us. Another man fired, but Paolo gave them our timing. I kept the old blindness story because 2 other people in the transport division still answer to him. One has already been removed. The other is being watched by the legal team. Does the other person know about me? They know you work in my house. They do not know what you mean to me. What do I mean to you? You are the person whose absence I feel before I hear the door close. That is beautiful. It is not an answer. Matteo stepped nearer. He stopped at the distance she had chosen in the clinic. You are the woman I have been falling in love with for a year, he said. I called it trust because trust was easier to control. The words moved through her, frightening and steady. You have been falling? I am not graceful about it. I noticed. His mouth almost smiled. I do not want you to return because the house is safer with you in it. I want you to return because I want to know what my life looks like when you are allowed to stand in it as yourself. Allowed. When you choose to. She looked at the uncovered eyes that could see only the bright edge of her shape. You are learning different words. I am learning to use fewer words and make them true. Then do that tomorrow. I will. She glanced toward the garden. Nico wants to show me the stones. He told me they are a road to a castle. He tells everyone that. He told me I was not allowed to move the last stone. That sounds like him. They walked outside. Matteo let her lead and offered no arm. When sunlight flashed off the glass roof, he paused, and Elena shifted the angle of her body to block the glare. He noticed. You do not have to do that, he said. I know. Thank you. That one can stay. They found Nico beside the crooked stone road. He held up the paper sun he had made at school. Boss, I drew you with eyes, he said. Matteo crouched in front of him. What color? I don't know. I use black because you always wear black. That is a strong artistic decision. Nico handed him the paper. Matteo touched the edge, then looked at the bright yellow circle in the center. I can see this, he said. The sun. The yellow. Can you see Mama? Matteo turned toward Elena. I can see her standing beside you. Nico studied his face. Soon you can see her angry face. I am looking forward to it. Elena shook her head, but she was smiling. 10 days later, the examination room was ready before they arrived. Dr. Hale had lowered the lights and drawn the blinds halfway, so the morning could enter without becoming a blade. A small table stood beneath the window. On it sat a glass of water, a folded cloth, and the red block Nico had taken from the conservatory and returned with solemn ceremony. He wanted it here, Elena said. Matteo stood at the threshold without his glasses. He said it was my lucky block. He says that because he wants to keep the blue one. A sensible negotiation. Dr. Hale checked the room. The temporary shield had protected his eyes while treatment settled. The result would be neither miracle nor guarantee. His vision might improve or remain narrow, and he would keep adapting to light and fatigue. I need you to describe what you see, she said. Not what you hope to see. I understand. And you need to stop when the room becomes painful. I understand that too. Dr. Hale looked at Elena. You can stand where he asks or where you choose. Matteo turned his face toward Elena. The chair near the window. If you are comfortable. She sat in the chair. She wore a dark blue dress, not a uniform, and left her hair loose because the morning had begun too warm for a pin. The red block remained on the table between them. Dr. Hale made a final adjustment, then stepped back. Matteo, tell me the first thing you notice. He opened his eyes fully. The window came first. He saw a pale square, then the black branch of a tree crossing it. The room swam at the edges. The red block on the table sharpened into a small, fierce shape. Red, he said. Good. What else? The table. The edge is silver. And the chair. He looked past the block. The outline of Elena's body separated from the gray wall. Her hair was a dark cloud around her shoulders. He inhaled. A person. Elena kept her hands on her knees. That is accurate. His eyes moved, searching without the old frantic sweep. The shape became a face, then broke apart, then gathered again. He saw one eye catch the window's pale reflection. He saw the curve of her mouth, the small mark near her left eyebrow, the warm brown of her hair where the light touched it. Elena, he said. I am here. Your eyes are brown. Her throat tightened. They are. I thought they would be darker. You have never seen them. I have seen the way you look at people. That is not the same thing. No. Dr. Hale asked him to rest. He kept looking at Elena. The light is hurting, he said. Elena rose immediately. I can leave. No. The word came from fear, but it did not become an order. Matteo blinked hard and turned his face toward the shadowed wall. I need the light lower, he said. Not you farther away. Dr. Hale adjusted the blind. The pain eased. Matteo looked back. Better? Elena asked. Better. She returned to the chair, but left it a little closer. You moved, he said. I did. Why? Because I wanted you to see me without making you chase the room. Something in his face broke open. He looked at her as if the action had changed more than the distance. May I touch you? He asked. She walked to the table and stopped within his reach. Tell me if you need me to stop. He lifted his hand. His fingers hovered beside her cheek, uncertain of the last inch. Elena took his wrist and guided his palm to her face. His skin was warm. He traced the line beneath her eye, the cheekbone, the corner of her mouth. He touched her as if he were learning a language that had always been spoken around him. "There," she whispered. "That is the angry face Nico keeps mentioning." Mateo's thumb paused near her eyebrow. "It is beautiful. You are biased." "I have been biased for a year." She laughed, and the sound changed his expression more than the light did. "Look at me," she said. "I am." "No. Look at me and tell me what you see that is not the woman who carries towels, the mother who argues with school administrators, or the person who knows where your coffee belongs." Mateo studied her, eyes watering from the light while the glasses remained visible on the table. "I see the woman who stood in a dark conservatory and told me I was lonely," he said. "The woman who left because she loved me too much to let me turn her into a guard. The woman who came back without being summoned." His hand remained against her cheek. "I see the first face I want to remember," he continued. "Not because you are the first face in the room. Because you are the first person I chose before I knew what my eyes could do." Elena closed her eyes. For months she had imagined the moment he might see her, and every version had made her feel like an object placed beneath a bright lamp. This was different. He was looking, but he was also telling the truth about what had come before the looking. "You can look away," she said. "I don't want to. You don't have to prove anything. I am not proving it. I am keeping it." She opened her eyes. "Then keep this too. You are allowed to have a bad day. You are allowed to need help. You are not allowed to decide alone what I can survive." Mateo lowered his hand. "I love you." The sentence was quiet enough that the machines outside the room seemed louder. He said it without triumph, like a fact he had stopped trying to hide from himself. Elena stepped closer. "Say it when you cannot see me." He closed his eyes. "I love you." "How do you know I am here?" He listened. Her weight shifted on the floor. The left heel of her shoe touched down a fraction later than the right. He opened his eyes, then let them close again. "You pause before the third floorboard when you are angry," he said. "You breathe through your nose when you are trying not to cry. And your left foot lands softly because you heard it as a child and never told the doctor." Elena stared at him. "I told you that once. You told Nico. I was outside the kitchen." She pressed both hands to his face. "You impossible man. That is what your son called me." He was talking about the block. "I know." She kissed him before he could make another careful joke. His hands found her waist and paused. Elena pulled him closer. The kiss was not a reward for sight returning. It answered a year of cooling coffee, recognized footsteps, and two people learning that being needed was not being chosen. When they parted, Mateo rested his forehead against hers. "The result is limited," Dr. Hale said from the doorway. "But it is real." Elena turned. The doctor had given them privacy without leaving the floor. "How much will he see?" Elena asked. "That will change over time. He will still have blind areas. He will still need the glasses in bright rooms. He will still use sound and memory." Mateo looked at Elena. "I can work with that." "You have been working with it for 5 years," she said. "Now you have to live with it honestly." He took her hand. "Will you live with it with me?" She looked at the red block, then at the man who had once believed control was safer than love. "I will live with the truth. The rest we learn." Mateo kissed her knuckles. "That is enough. It is the beginning. That is better." 6 weeks later, the lemon trees had begun to flower. Elena had left the DeLuca uniform and kept her apartment above Rose's bakery. She and Nico visited the garden most mornings. Mateo came to them, and the small kitchen at his house held a table for 3. Their future moved between the apartment and the house, a family rhythm built from shared breakfasts and a table waiting for all 3. They were together without pretending the light was easy. Mateo wanted her beside him, held her hand when glare closed in, and loved the ordinary work of making room for Nico. Paolo's access was gone, and the legal case moved forward without Elena. Mateo remained head of the DeLuca organization, dangerous and capable of redirecting a convoy with one call. He also kept tinted lenses nearby and admitted when light became too sharp. On a clear Sunday morning, Nico carried the red block into the garden and placed it on the bench. Stand there, he told Matteo. The sun is behind you. Matteo adjusted the small camera in his hand. You are directing the photographer. You are the photographer. I am the director. Elena stood beside the lemon tree. He has a point. Matteo raised the camera and looked at them through the screen. The image wavered, then focused. He saw Nico's crooked smile, Elena's loose hair, the red block on the bench between them. I can take this one, he said. The shutter clicked. He lowered the camera and held it out to Nico. Now you stand with Mama, the boy said. Matteo joined Elena beneath the tree. The cane leaned against the bench, and he made no claim that the bright morning was easy. He placed one hand at the small of her back. She threaded her fingers through his. Nico lifted the camera. Look at me. Matteo looked at the boy, then at Elena. Both of you, Nico said. The camera clicked again. For years, Matteo had treated every image as a risk. This one was only a morning. Elena's warm hand, Nico's laughter, and the red block in the sun, no longer evidence and not quite a talisman. Did you get our faces? Elena asked. Nico studied the screen. I got them. Matteo leaned close to Elena. I got yours first. She turned toward him. You did. I will keep learning it. Good. I am changing it sometimes. I noticed. She kissed his cheek in front of Nico, who groaned as if the adults had violated a serious garden rule. Matteo laughed. The sound startled a bird from the lemon tree. He followed it with his eyes, saw the dark shape lift into the bright morning, and did not reach for a weapon or a wall. He simply watched it go, then looked back at the woman who had taught him that seeing was not the same as possessing. Elena rested her head against his shoulder. What do you see now? Matteo looked at the red block, the child, the flowering branches, and the face he had chosen before his eyes could hold it. Enough, he said. And you.